Okay, what we're going to do right now is we're going to convert this machine to operate in Probeless operation. And so I'm going to leave most of the wires where they are. My red and green wire for my constant power. I like to have the DigiSet displayed all the time because if I'm displaying my name as the chemical company or the service number, it's always there, and it never hurts for everybody to know who the company is that's doing it, so that can stay there. And I still need my rinse connections from the same place, so the brown and orange wire that I already hooked up is going to stay the same. But because Probeless conveyor operates a little differently, I need to hook up to a signal that is going to be on all the time that the dish machine is on or ready to run. And I can't find a signal like that in this box. If I hook up these two wires in Probeless mode to the secondary side of this contactor, what's going to happen is every time I turn the switch on, this is going to cause it to initial charge. And we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run two wires from the secondary side of this heat switch, and I'm going to connect them to these two wires. And what that's going to give me, every time the customer turns the heat on, the heat will stay on all the time. There'll always be power on the secondary side of that switch, and so my signal's never going to shut off to the initial charge. So once it comes on and gives me my initial charge, it will stay on. The customer will run the machine for an hour or 2 hours. When they're ready to drain the machine, they'll shut this off. My detergent signal will shut off. They'll drain it. They'll clean the machine. They'll fill it up with fresh water. They'll turn the heat back on, and it will initial charge. And when it does that, I'll get the right amount of soap for a fresh tank of water, and then my recharge will come in every time my signal comes on my brown and orange wire. So I'm just going to take this apart and get started on this. And sometimes when you're working on an old machine, this is a brand new switch. So sometimes this can be a little cumbersome and it wants to not come apart very easily. So what you can do is you can take this whole thing off by just undoing these two Phillips screws on the back here. And you can see this is a double pole switch, meaning it breaks both sides of the circuit. So what I need to do is I need to get my meter on these switches. They're always marked, and 1 goes to 2 and 2 goes to 5, or I'm sorry, 4 goes to 5. If I flip the switch the other way, that's dead and that's dead. So that means what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another connector on here, and you can do it by either connecting right at the switch, or if you need to, you could splice right into these wires. Okay? You can see the pilot circuit is attached to the light, so that's another easy way to identify which side is the secondary, because when you flip the switch on, the light comes on to let you know that the heater is active. Not necessarily on, but active. So you want to hook up, basically you're just hooking up to where this light is, and that's going to give me the initial charge signal I need to operate it. You can run another piece of conduit if it's easier for you, but this has got soft conduit connections in it, so it's pretty easy for me to run these lines through. So what I'm doing is I've doubled a piece of wire, and I'm going to feed this through the conduit that goes back to the main control box. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I can make all my dispenser connections from one spot and run one piece of conduit back to the DigiSet. There's my line, okay? And now these, when I cut this in half, and I'll do that right now, I'm going to attach this wire here, and I'm going to attach this wire here, and then I will attach the two wires on this end that I just ran to the secondary side of the switch, and that'll give me my initial charge feature for the DigiSet. So I'm just going to put these connectors on and get ready to do that.
Cat loves dog.
What? Now what I've done is I've added these nice little solderless connectors. They're real handy to have in your toolkit, and as you can see it makes a connection, but what it does is it gives you another spot to make the connection that's already there. So when I hook this up, what I can do is I can attach this to this extra connector that's on here, and then I can slide that connector onto the open terminal. And I can do the same thing with the other one. That's the other side of my pilot light. We'll just slide on there nicely, and then I'll just pop that on. There we go. Okay, so I'll neaten all these wires up and make this look pretty and put this back together. Now, where I had my connections to the secondary of the magnetic contactor for my probe, I'm just going to snip those connections. Strip this wire and strip the two wires, the new wires that I just ran from the heater switch. Okay, I'll tie these together. And I'll put some wirettes on those. I want to make sure that everything's working correctly, so I'm going to go up to my Digiset and readjust it for Probeless and see that everything's working correctly.